gather, it's obviously the Fourth Reich. So
Exactly.
here's my advice: start waving communist flags.
I'd rather die.
I actually agree.
No, listen. I know. Okay, take your pride. What is the media going to do if people are like, free Tommy Robinson, as they're waving around a communist flag? What is the media going to do? Are they going to declare communist Nazis? Like you just think outside the box. Use the weapon of your enemy.
It's an interesting idea. I wonder what they would do.
I got to interrupt everybody here for a second. We got the ghost with the most, our resident member of the translucent white delegation, Ghastly. What's up, my man?
What's up, fellas? Fried power to you.
Yo, you know man, Fried power. What's up, my Spectre?
Not a whole lot. You know, I was just glassing it out there in the chat. Figured I'd come through and talk about a couple things real quick, since there has been a lot to happen today. And by the way, I listened to is it Monkey that just came in a minute ago with the Kazakhstan diatribe?
Yep.
Okay.
That was me. And a lot of that's very accurate, man. That's very true. And essentially what happened there, and you are correct, I did appear on the Free Press of Kazakhstan a few times in the early days. I'm tight with the lead artist and the guy that was at the time the lead voice actor on that channel. I now own that channel, and it's now the Free Press of Gold City, because you're absolutely right. Correct. That joke is over. The people that set that up did it in a way that didn't give it the kind of staying power that it needed to really push the message that they wanted to push. Anti-identity politics became identity politics, and I think that's where you get that bad cringe coming from. So that being dismantled, still the staff there is great, and I work with those guys all the time. Particularly Ash from Free Press. He does a really good job, and he's a big art contributor on Gulf City right now. So there it is with that, man. But that's cool, man, that you were able to notice that transition from back then. Things have certainly changed around the internet with all of that. But you are right. We're pretty much done with the K word.
Hey, Ghastly.
Yes,
Yeah. Can you turn your mic up a little bit, man?
Oh, am I low?
Yeah, you're low.
You can right click him and turn him up.
Yeah,
in Discord.
I'll fix you in Discord. I got you.
Hang on, man.
I actually
let my producer
my
handle
settings today. I might be a little bit low. You might be right.
No, you're good now.
We got you, boo.
Cool. Thanks, guys. But when I sent you the message originally, it was the one you were talking about, the guys on what do you call it, alternative history or whatever it is, that hailed the whale on their show and then looked it up and they're like, oh, this is a alt-right thing. which always, you know, that's always worth a laugh to me, because there's a section of people that assume that Gulf City is an alt-right dog whistle. There's also a section of people that think that I'm some crazy, like, super leftist guy trying to infiltrate.
Yeah, that's how you know you're doing it right.
Right. And then there's also equivalent contingencies on the other side that think that I was part of one of those groups and now I'm somehow betraying them. You know what I mean? So there's people all over the map that see it in there. And just all of those opinions, I think are pretty fucking comical. And it just goes to show that they haven't watched the fucking show before. And I know all the Whale Gang cats out here know already, but I mean, Jesus Christ, the lead antagonist in the story arc I'm telling right now is a parody of the leader of the alt-right, and I made him gay with a parody of a BLM guy. So I feel like I'm pretty much shitting on the right and left equally. So when people think that I'm supporting some kind of political narrative with this, it just I don't know, don't make sense to me, man. Comedy, right?
I could try to explain it. Like, sure, I assume you're pro free speech, right?
Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So the problem is,
I think I see.
Equality and freedom come at the expense of the other. You can't have freedom and equality. So
somebody always loses. Yeah.
If you have a society which prioritizes freedom, you're going to have inequality. If you have a society which prioritizes equality, you're going to have less freedom. So
you also have to distinguish between equality of outcome and equality of opportunity.
You know, that's
just saying equality can.
Well, the problem is that the concepts of equality of opportunity has been made to be a subset of equality of outcome. Everything's equality of outcome. The only equality which is not equality of outcome is equality before the law. Well, I'm talking equality of outcome. The left, the far left, is basically equality of outcome. They want everyone to be the same. And obviously, in order to do that, you need to take people's freedom away. And so, if you are a moderate centrist, you fuck the alt-right, fuck the left, fuck them all. I just want to, I want free speech. I want this. To them, you are a far-right Nazi,
right?
Because you are standing in the way of equality. Because your freedom is, in order for them to have equality, they need to take your freedom away. And by opposing them, you are a far-right lunatic. Right. So that's what, like, there are no someone who's passionately for equality.
And I don't think that SINRISE is completely wrong. And I think that you touched on that as well, that there's kind of a misnomer in some of these definitions where people say things like, okay, here's equality of opportunity and here's equality of outcome. And your average, like, rational person can see what they mean by that. Equality of opportunity would be, like you say, equality before the law, same rights and privileges as all other citizens, all of these types of things. In my mind, the words equality of outcome means that everybody dies with the same number of dollars, basically. And that doesn't, and that's not something that I think we need to chase. I think you give everybody the same deck of cards when they start, and the trajectory they come up with after that's kind of up to them.
That's the only truly fair way to do it. And what I'm saying is that it's important in the conversation, because
I think both of you are partially right.
Yeah, you're never going to get anywhere with an irrational person, right? But if you're in a conversation with somebody who's actually engaging with you and listening and having a dialogue, it's important to make that distinction because it's so often conflated.
Right.
You misunderstood.
Well, I gotta stop real quick. Do a shout out to Freedom in the chat. What's up, Freedom?
What's going on, man? Hodem Max, how you living, man? Hodem Max has been with me for a long time, dude. He's been a heavy supporter of my stuff, and I want to say thank you and welcome to the motherfucking stream. Right. Yeah, man. Yeah, you got to show love to the guys that have been there for a long time. But not only that, I think a lot of people forget the fact that, not everybody's meant to be great. Like, if I told you to list off guys who were great and changed the world in the past, like, 200 years, you'd run out of names inside of a minute.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Not
sure.
Yeah, not everybody's made to be great. And like, everybody has that dumb ideology that, like, oh man, I'm supposed to be, I'm like, no, you're not. Because only so many individuals can really change
to a degree, but they all should have the same opportunity to attempt to be great.
Oh, absolutely.
But let me interject something, because
meritocracy is a good thing.
But there's a way that this is what I'm talking about when they say that equality of opportunity has been hijacked to basically be functionally identical to equality of outcome.
Sure,
so what someone on the left would argue is that, okay, so you're for equality of opportunity, I'm for equality of opportunity. It's not about dying with the same number of dollars. Well, let me explain. Let me play devil's advocate and explain what they would mean. So what they would argue is it doesn't. Okay, so we all come from different backgrounds. I'm come from an impoverished background. You're a different race. You're a different socioeconomic class. For us to have the same opportunities, we need to have the same education. We have to have the same job experience. We have the same family experience, because it doesn't make sense if I'm going to be disadvantaged in my upbringing and education and so on and so forth. The fact that once I'm grown, now we're competing for the same jobs in the same economy. That's not fair, because you had all these privileges. That's where all these concepts come from.
So I think what you're getting at there is they have no acceptable margin of error in that people born to different socioeconomic classes may not have exactly the same opportunities, regardless of whether or not the law attempts to provide them the same.
Exactly. And they want to solve all cosmic injustice.
Well,
all cosmic injustice
there's got to be a margin of error that's acceptable, though, right?
Well, their idea is in order to rectify these cosmic injustices, it has to come at the expense of freedom. You have to take people's money. You have to punish them for making good decisions.
It's a greater good argument.
You can So
it's an justifies the means argument.
But that's, even though we're talking about equality of opportunity, they can twist the argument into arguing for equality of outcome, because they're like, oh well, your education, your upbringing, the fact that you were raised in a 2-parent household, that gives you all these advantages.
They're damn good at twisting it up when you have positive intentions. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So the key is, you basically, at the end of the day, even though they might use different language and they may make a certain argument, they want equality. And equality, whether you're talking about equality of opportunity, equality of outcome, anything, all equality comes at the expense of freedom. A free society is effectively an anarchistic society where there's no rules, and it's like the law of the jungle. The strongest survive. That's equal. That's freedom. Everybody's free to do everything. Nobody really wants total freedom.
Total freedom. I see what you're saying. Where there's that differential there, where at total freedom, there's literally no protection.
Well, that's why we use the term liberty.
Well, so the key is everybody's on a different part of the spectrum. The reason why dialogue breaks down is because people who are on the left who prioritize, they don't want total equality, nor do people on the right want total freedom. But people who are on the left who prioritize equality over freedom, they see everyone to the right of them as a Nazi. Sure. And then everyone on the right who sees everybody who prioritizes equality over freedom, they see them as they're all commies and social Marxists. And so everyone just kind of digs their heels in, and nobody wants to.
Within those harsher ideologies to force that dichotomy on people, where if you're not with me, you're against me, and kind of
Tribalism.
Those gray areas where you can have conversation like this, where you try to kind of actually delve into the mechanics of how these things work logistically in large groups of people. And I think that's infinitely more productive to do it this way than to, like you say, dig your heels in and go, nope, it's like this, or fuck you, you're a Nazi. That's not helping anybody, you know?
Yeah, you're never going to have a meaningful conversation with somebody like that.
Now, one thing that wasn't touched upon, like we're talking about a free society, right?
That's
like,
all pretty interesting.
We do free markets, right? Of course, not everybody. Like if we live in a society where we have like free ANCAP society, like we'll just say hypothetically, we're in the anarcho-capitalist dreamland. It's not a zero-sum game, right? There's gonna be people on the bottom, but at the end of the day, like everything's growing larger and larger. So the reason why, like poor people in America, God fucking damn, some of the poorest people in America still have fucking cell phones and flat screen TVs.
Yeah, the bottom has come up
to those people in Bangladesh.
However, just to your point though, as everyone becomes richer, inequality becomes wider. Like if everybody,
but the overall standard goes up. So if you just look at the differential, you're not getting the full picture.
But that's the point, though.
It's like the wage gap thing.
I think if you go to the core of his point, it's accurate. So do you prioritize freedom or do you prioritize opportunity first? And I think that's accurate. And just in kind of our analysis here in this conversation, I would say that honestly, as much as I do care about equality of opportunity, maybe that's not the name for what I'm looking for. Because in my mind, or at least my knee jerk, my hot take, is to say that I prioritize freedom first.
Yep. And I think societies which do prioritize freedom have vastly better outcomes for vastly more people than societies which prioritize equality.
Which is what I was saying. Because if you prioritize freedom, like I said, the bottom grows, right? The rich might get richer, but the poor get richer too.
The overall standard goes up.
I just think that I know that meritocracy can be a bad word in a conversation like this, but it's not unreasonable to look at your own merit as part of a defining variable as to where that trajectory for success goes for you. A social security card can provide everybody in America with essentially the same thing as far as the government's concerned, but that doesn't give them equality of opportunity. So I think Monkey's certainly correct about that. Thinking about it, I think I do prioritize freedom over as important as equality is to me. Coming at the expense of people being able to say and do what they want to do, provided they're not infringing on anybody else.
I have to agree, because equality itself, just pure equality, it's kind of an empty idea,
Well, you
have to put some perspective on it.
Where everybody's like wearing the same thing and they say the same thing, and they all have the same job and they all make the same, and everybody's exactly the same. I don't want to fucking do that. That looks terrible.
I don't think anybody wants that.
That was the worst of the prequel movies.
Yeah, that's always a dystopian image.
No shit. That's interesting, man.
Yeah, man. I'm gonna tell you what. See, like, look, believe it or not, me and Accelerate earlier were just talking about how Ghastly's an intellectual individual, and TFM. I've talked to Ghastly about it. I've talked to Accelerate about him, and believe it or not, man, I push you on a regular basis, dude. Look, real shit. I think you're one of the smartest YouTubers out here, and your economic shit and your ability to break things down to everybody else's level, because you understand them at a much higher level than a lot of us do.
Thank you.
It's always shocking to me. It like real shit is always fucking shocking to me.
I'm a Rothbardian ANCAP, but I don't call myself an ANCAP anymore. like at the core, like in heart, I believe, like I understand what they're saying, but I realize today, as we live, like we can't just dissolve government and live in an anarcho-capitalist society.
Well, I mean, I think anarcho-capitalism, from a principled standpoint, is the most correct system because. But the problem is, there's always going to be more losers than winners in any society, and
accurately representative of humanity.
The issue is that human nature makes them not work.
Well, you have to explain what do you mean by human. I'll explain what I mean by human nature and why Ancapistan will never work.
Okay, well, let's take a simpler example. Okay. You probably agree on something like communism. On paper, there's a prayer for that, but the nature of man would never let that work because people are naturally greedy and lazy and don't want other people to have what they have. Now, that's a very simplified, obviously, analysis.
Well, I mean, the writers like Mises is Hayek.
I think we can all agree that communism doesn't work.
Right. It's economically inviable.
Well, I always said. Wait, hang on one second. I always say communism would work. You know what I'm saying? If Jesus Christ would run in it.
Not really. No, it still wouldn't work. Here's the problem.
You have to be an entire society of all Jesus Christs for it to work.
Yeah, but here's the real problem.
Everyone would literally have to be Jesus.
When you're trying to have a conversation with someone who's arguing for communism, they're not arguing from a practical standpoint. They're arguing from an ethical and moral standpoint. So they don't care that it doesn't work. They don't care that millions of people will die. It's the right thing to do.
Exactly.
Well, no, you can win that argument, but you can't argue practicalities. If they're saying communism or socialism or whatever kind of ism is the correct moral, ethical choice because it's the right thing to do, it helps people, it's kind and gentle, and your retort is it doesn't work. You're parallel lines. You're not meeting.
Right. It comes from that mindset that just by doing the right thing or just by having love in your heart, everything will work out. That's literally the mindset.
No, actually, but if you talk to religious people, their retort is, it doesn't matter if it doesn't work and we all die because we'll go to heaven. So who cares? Now, but you can win this argument. The way to win the argument with someone who's arguing for morals and ethics isn't to argue practicalities. You have to argue morals and ethics.
Yeah.
So what you do is you shift the argument. You don't talk about how communism doesn't work. You talk about how equality comes at the expense of freedom. And you can't have both. You have to prioritize one at the expense of the other. But people want freedom and equality. So when you confront them with the reality, and you can show countless examples that as equality increases, freedom decreases, and as freedom increases, equality decreases.
So where's the equilibrium?
You can have 50%, but you have to either prioritize one, or you have to be coldly in the middle, or you have to prioritize the other.
I agree, but where is that equilibrium? Is all.
Here's the beautiful thing. It doesn't matter, because when you're arguing ethics and morals, freedom and equality, neither is morally superior to the other. I can't present a moral argument that freedom is morally superior to equality or equality is morally superior to freedom. So from a moral, ethical standpoint, it's a dead end. So then you kind of nudge them towards the practicalities. And the way I do that is by presenting the argument, okay, we can't conclude through ethics or morals that freedom or equality is superior to the other. But we can do is we can look at societies which prioritize freedom. We can look at societies which prioritize equality, and we can measure the outcome. So now we've nudged into the practical argument, and now I don't have to say communism doesn't work. What I say is that societies which value and prioritize freedom over equality produce better outcomes, higher standards of living for more people.
It's a good tactic. Yeah. And it's also good to use terms that don't already have associations or connotations.
Right. Buzzwords. You're gonna hang yourself. Yeah. With that crap,
Right. If that all fails, you just kick him out of helicopter.
It's always that option.
That's right.
Physical removal. I'm a fan. In fact, I've been trying to work on a goddamn fucking video with a Turd Flinging monkey. You probably know Hans Hermann Hoppe.
Hans Zimmer Pop.
Hans Hermann Hoppe.
Oh no, I don't know who that is.
Well, I'm working on a video for him, and when I get it out, I'll make you watch it. You'll probably like it.
Okay.
He's all about physical removal of communists.
Oh, there you go.
They don't respect private property rights, so you got to put them on fucking helicopter rights.
Well, they're emotional thinkers. They're emotional thinkers. That's the problem. And the problem with an emotional thinker, no amount of facts, logic, reason, evidence will ever convince them. The only way to win an argument with an emotional thinker is to out crazy them.
Yeah, and if you have any experience,
on a helicopter and dropping them off in the ocean, yeah, I get it.
I spent a lot of time debating, like, extremely religious people trying to have debates about the existence of God and stuff. And it's a lot of this stuff. It seems to come from like the same sort of mindset. It's completely different language and different ideas, but it's the same language and it's the same argumentation tactics and the same like type of reactions to facts and stuff like that. It's so many parallels. It's crazy.
Right. No, it is. And the thing is, what I tell religious people is it's unfalsifiable. I can't disprove God, just like, the whole flying spaghetti monster thing. You can't disprove there's a flying spaghetti monster. So because it's unfalsifiable, right. I don't care. It's like I can't prove reality isn't the Matrix, and we're all in a simulation right now in a fucking whatever, like some kind of movie. Yeah. So I can't prove or disprove it. So there's no point even thinking about it. If you have evidence that we're in a simulation, I'd like to see it. But in the absence of any evidence, you're basically presenting an unfalsifiable scenario, which has neither evidence nor counter evidence. So I don't care. So what I tell religious people is I am very open-minded to the existence of a God who will show himself. So maybe God is that 6-armed elephant thing from India, or maybe it's the God of the Bible, or maybe it's the hobo down the street who talks to himself. As soon as that God appears, makes himself known, and does something which cannot be disproven by science, it must be divine power. I am all ears to hear what he has to say. And the funny thing is,
the ways of the whale. In my friend.
I was going to say my money's on the whale, man. I don't know.
What's messed up is, in the Bible, the Old Testament, they're like the people. If you're ever religious or ever read the Bible, the people in the Bible did see miracles. They did question, and God did provide signs, both in the Old and New Testament. But then it's like, now you just got to believe. It's like, well, wait a minute. So what? These people got to see signs. These people got to see signs. I just got to read a book.
Well, the argument against that is, I've seen things in my life. God has worked miracles in my life, and then they give examples. And see, that's the thing, is that approaching that conversation is hard because we live in an evidence-based society. I mean, everything we do is based upon, we have insurance, we lock our doors, we put security alarms on our cars. We all think in those terms. So when people they rationalize their emotional attachments, their strongly held beliefs, by giving them reasons, because it that's how we define our reality, through reason and through evidence. And you have to have some cognitive dissonance there.
Well, but there is in the Bible, there's stuff that couldn't be like, calling fire from heaven, parting a sea, rising from the dead. These are things which cannot be explained through any other means. Just because your car didn't start, then you prayed and your car started. Oh, it's a miracle. I guess God is real because my car started after I tried it again.
Well, that's the teaching. That's what's been pushed over the generations as more and more things get explained. That it's kind of a God of the gaps thing.
Well, you should take a swim with the whales, my man. Guys, I'm sorry to cut off, but I do have to go. Thanks for having me on for.
All right, man.
Take care. Hail Blue Whale.
Nice to meet you.
Ghastly. Wait, Ghastly. Wait, Ghastly. Before you leave. TFI. Remember, I was telling you about them dudes who were using that facial recognition stuff to do their work and whatnot.
Okay, like the fake celebrity porn stuff.
No.
Wait, Ghastly, you do celebrity porn?
That's my other business. Yeah,
where's the site? Hook me up, link me to it.
All right, I'll catch you.
I want to watch.
All right. Anyway, this dude here's the guy I was talking about who uses it's a facial recognition software for their animation.
You're talking about what's it called?
Motion capture.
Where you have the camera, and then as you move your face, the cartoon moves on the screen.
Yeah. Their shit's like legit looks really, really good. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a dude. Like if you want to set something like that up, so you don't got to hold the puppet all the time.
Yeah, but puppets, you got to keep it old school.
I understand you got to keep it old school, but if you ever want to check out some new stuff with that, so you don't, because I know there's days you're like, I'm sick, I don't feel like doing it, I'm tired, it's hot, whatever, that's a good option, for something else. Or if you want to just do a regular video in that manner, and you don't have to sit there, and go through some extracurricular stuff. You can just sit there and talk into the camera and have, I have talking for you.
I have my little